Christmas, Mr. Rainwater.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Joe.
It's our second Christmas episode.
Yeah, we've made it. We've made it to 2 Christmases now. Like
Cheers. What are you drinking? Are you drinking anything fun?
Nothing exciting. It's just water. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a cocktail called Santa's Magic Potion, which is 2 parts Bailey's to 4 parts eggnog with a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg sprinkled on top and then,
That's
mixed in as
exciting.
well.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good because I got the vanilla spiced eggnog and I got the caramel. Hold on. The salted caramel Baileys,
Nice.
which is a first for me. But this is crazy easy to drink. And
I imagine it is.
we're fortunate that I'm
that's
limited
just a
to this.
milkshake.
We're limited to this, or I'm limited to this for this episode. I'm not going to stop in the middle of the episode and pour myself another. So I can't get too buzzed. But I figured it's the holidays, and it's my first holiday where I can drink. So this is the first time that I'm actually having. Well, not the first time. I should take that back. This is the second time I've had eggnog, which is what's going to lead us into our discussion. But I had never had eggnog until I tried out this cocktail. That's the world that I'm living in. I was never an
Really?
eggnog guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask, was it because you assumed a lot of eggnog was alcoholic, or is it just like you don't like eggnog?
It wasn't something that my family did. You know what I mean? We weren't an eggnog family. We were a hot chocolate type of family.
No, my family isn't very eggnog-y either. I just came into it a couple of times when I was living with other people who were really into it. I was like, okay, I can see the point. Like, it's possibly the sweetest thing I've ever drank.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I guess I don't know why, but I thought it was just milk and like egg whites. And I was like, why the hell would people drink that? Like mentally, as a kid, that's where my mind went. But I never thought as an adult to reinvestigate it. You know what I mean? My wife is big on drinking eggnog, but she eats all kinds of gross shit that I would never touch.
I feel like eggnog is one of those things that's like, that would be amazing in baked stuff, or like, as an add-in.
Like a
ice
buttermilk
cream.
substitute or something.
Yeah.
I could see that. That actually might not be the worst idea in the world. Try and do like eggnog chocolate chip cookies or something. I don't know.
Eggnog pancakes or eggnog waffles.
I may have to investigate this. My cooking has been severely lacking lately. I'm just kind of eating whatever. But anyway, back on topic. It's Christmas time. So we are doing a kind of the art of tradition here. So we're going to be talking about we're doing the Christmas this or that. Now this is big on like Instagram and stuff like that, where people will just circle one or the other. So you and I are going to go down this list and we're going to discuss the things that we have in common, the things we don't have in common, and maybe I'm guessing that a lot of it's going to stem from traditions, from family traditions, like what we're used to. But
right.
I'm curious to know if either of us will break from that, because for me, the eggnog, I'm breaking from family right there. Like that's new. So right off the bat, and this is, if you haven't listened to our episode, our first episode, I should say, Christmas episode with the little baby Jesus in the cake. This is going to be an interesting discussion topic for me and Rainwater. But at the top of your Christmas tree, Mr. Rainwater, do you put a star or an angel?
That switches around. Usually, I'd say 8 out of 10 times it's an angel.
Okay.
So like, yeah.
What causes the star to get a day?
Somebody who puts up the tree, or somebody who helps him put up the tree, is like, I want to change it. I want to do a star instead of an angel this year.
Has that been? And it's been that way since you were a kid?
Yeah. Because like sometimes it's like, let's like both were there, so it's like, let's do an angel this year. Oh, let's do a star this year, and it depends on also which child. Like, my sister was also a person who was making decisions in regards to that too. So like, it depends on who was there the most.
So
right? Or who was doing the most work.
If it were you, which one would you pick?
I'm probably the wild card because I will just, depending on how I feel. This is a star year. This is an angel year.
You're just reading the vibe of the year. I get it.
Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
right. My family was very much an angel family back in the day. Like I think my mom still I don't think she ever had a star. There was never a star even like in the bin. Like it wasn't even considered. It was always an angel. And my wife, I believe, also had an angel. But since then, we found, I don't want to call it a star, but it's very close to a star. But it's a light up. It's electric. You plug it in. Snowflake, and it's kind of star-like.
Yeah, sure.
And it's a little bit more on brand for us because the whole Santa Mrs. Claus obsession that we have. So we stick with the lit up snowflake. That's our tree topper. So I guess, despite the fact that I grew up with the angel, I guess that's closer to a star. So I'm going to say that my family does the star. Next up is eggnog versus hot cocoa, which is kind of what we kicked it off as. But I don't know which way do you go? Or did you?
No, hot cocoa. For
really?
Sure. Yeah.
See, now,
like I said, I didn't do eggnog until much, much later, and that was like with a bunch of other people who that was their thing, and so with my family, it's just been hot cocoa, and that's what I personally tend towards. Certainly, like, I don't know, eggnog was not a thing that was like I don't think a lot of people in the South drink eggnog that much.
I don't even know do you know where eggnog came from? Well, this is what we've got alcohol, but do you have any idea where eggnog originated?
I have no clue, and I'm going to take a wild guess and say probably Pennsylvania.
Why do you?
It just seems, yeah, it just seems like that kind of thing.
Something that those damn Dutch would come up with. Okay. Next on the list. Now this is going to be maybe a fiery debate. Candy canes versus like Hershey Kisses, chocolates.
I was always into Hershey Kisses chocolates.
Yeah.
Like there was candy canes present on the tree that nobody ate, especially if they were peppermint. So that's the thing. That's what will determine it. Because like this was something when I was a kid, like both me and my sister were like, Mom, Dad, can you just like not do the peppermint candy canes because we're not going to eat them? So like when they were like fruity flavored, we're like, okay, that's fine.
That was my big thing. The rainbow ones that had the fruit flavor to it.
Yeah,
that was my preferred candy cane. I was never a mint person until more recently in life.
Same.
But yeah, no, I don't know what planet they're from when they like candy canes. I don't know why you would risk the cavities for something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I get doing mint for, like, fresh breath and this and that, and maybe they're, like, hoping mistletoe type stuff, but for me, it's just like, that's a waste of candy.
Yeah.
All right.
My grandparents were really big into having a shit ton of candy during Christmas, so it was, like, Hershey's Kisses and, just you name it, right? Just in dishes all around the house, and so, like, I ate a lot of chocolate as a kid.
Nothing wrong with that. Chocolate is delicious. Pardon me, I'm trying to fix our levels. I don't know. I noticed we were spiking. I know I'm probably spiking because I'm drinking something spiked. But now this next one. This one is going to come up again later in a different form. But this is a totally personal preference. Christmas Day versus Christmas Eve. Which one do you favor more?
For sure.
Say it one more time.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. Is there a reason why?
Opening presents. That's when we open presents. That's when, we do all the eating, like the Christmas Day lunch. I mean, I don't know, as a kid, like, the routine was like go to one grandparent's house, do Christmas Day lunch, and then After that, go to the other grandparents' house who are only like 30 miles away.
Yeah.
If even that. 30 minutes more likely. 30 minutes away, and then do like Christmas Eve or Christmas Day dinner, basically. So like evening time Christmas. So it was like a twofer kind of situation.
See, I'm much more of a Christmas Eve kind of guy.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, while you get all the good stuff Christmas morning, and then you eat again Christmas afternoon,
Yeah.
Christmas Eve I like more, only because we eat. I mean, my family and I go out to eat, and then I usually come back and I fill myself with as much crap that I can.
Yeah.
Usually because I like to start a diet on December 25th. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not that bad of a day. Like,
Yeah.
The Christmas dinner is not terrible if you eat around the plate. If you do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you can have more
Sure.
protein than carbs. You turkey and ham and this and that, but then you also have a little bit of lasagna, a little bit of mashed potatoes. Usually you'll be okay. Christmas Eve, on the other hand, I'm spaghetti and meatballs, cinnamon rolls, ice cream, popcorn, you name it. Like everything I can fit in my gullet, I do. And my little sister and I have a long-standing tradition that we watch Christmas movies on that night, which I get to share this year with my son, which I cannot wait for. And there's something about the anticipation of the next day. That feeling of it's tomorrow, you know what I mean? Like it's not
Sure.
It's not like stir crazy that you get before like a big thing, but it's more like that anticipation of I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to get. The possibilities are endless. And I love that unknown more than I do having whatever I got, or you know what I mean? Because it can either be pure joy or pure disappointment, but my imagination exploring the possibilities is more exciting to me than the culmination of what ends up actually under the tree, or you know what I mean?
That's interesting too, because it's also what I was thinking about too in regards to what you're saying, like the traditions that you're developing now with your family. Like for me, like I'm basically like still figuring that out, what that looks like at this age for me, because I'm single right now, and my parents are in two different households, so it's like I want to go visit both my parents. Everything becomes like Christmas week. You got to figure out how all that's gonna work out, right? So it's now like, and also like all my grandparents have passed now. So like now everybody's like, okay, where do we congregate, right, on both sides of the family?
Yeah.
And so it's sort of been chaotic the last couple of years, because it's especially with my mom's side of the family, trying to figure out, okay, where are we going to congregate this year? Who can come? Because everybody's kind of spread out.
Sure.
We like to do like the whole extended family kind of a thing, basically. So like that makes it. I guess what I'm learning here is I need to make some traditions for myself.
That's
no
interesting.
matter what happens.
That's gonna be yeah. And you know something, if we run short on this thingy and we have to discuss anything else to fill out the hour, I have something to talk about. So we'll come back to that.
Yeah. That was just a thought that came to my mind, because it was like I'm realizing you've spent a lot of time, because you're also really into the holidays, thinking this out, right?
Yeah.
And trying to like, okay, what do I want to do for this, right? So anyway.
Next on the list, would you rather bake cookies or sing carols?
I'd rather bake cookies.
I'm the same way. But you know what, though? I sing while I'm baking most of the time. Like I made cookies the other day. I made chocolate chip cookies and snickerdoodles, and I had Frank Sinatra Christmas going the whole time. So, you can't help, just belting out to Sinatra.
There was a period of time where this was important, where like the tradition was to go to karaoke on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day.
That sounds fun.
Either or. It is actually pretty fun. It's one of the best times to do karaoke, because it's like all the people who have, they may not have a lot of family to hang out with or whatever. They go congregate at the bar, and it's packed. It's really packed. Yeah.
That's interesting to me, because I'm just now learning about all the world of alcohol and booze and how that works. So I when you first said you know karaoke, I'm like, there's karaoke places open on Christmas. Then I realized, oh yeah, dumbass, it's a bar where you know the single people, lonely people, people who just want to get away from their family, like a lot of people can congregate there, and that's probably a big day for them in the bartending industry. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's interesting. That sounds like fun to me. You know what I mean? Like
that's fun
because everybody it's like one of those Island of Misfit Toys type situations where everybody is there for a very similar reason, and you can kind of bond over that, which is what Christmas is about, is relating to your fellow human, and you know what I mean, spending time with people who make you feel good, and even if it's a stranger, like you know, someone who can identify with whatever it is you're going through, it just makes you feel a little less alone. And that's the number one thing I would hope for everybody on Christmas.
Yeah, everybody's particularly drunk too on those 2 nights. For personal experience, I will say, like, you're gonna get peak drunk karaoke.
That's awesome, though. I'm kind of, you know what though, I'm debating whether or not I will be having any of my Santa's Magic Potion on Christmas Eve, because part of me, I'm not speaking down on drinking or anything like that, but I don't know if I want to do that in front of my son on a wholesome type of holiday. I don't know. You know, he's barely 1 year old now. So it's, to me, I don't know. I feel like I'm not setting the right example, but then another part of me is like, you know what? It's okay to drink as long as you're demonstrating to drink responsibly. I mean, he's not really taking any of this in, but I'm trying to put myself into the right rut where I am behaving in a pattern that I would want him to represent if he were able to, if that makes any kind of sense.
Well, I mean, is part of that, like, you don't want there to be like I don't know, like an association for your kid where it's like, oh, it's Christmas Eve, Daddy's gonna get drunk.
Yeah, like, that's exactly what I don't want.
Yeah.
But part of me likes the warm and fuzzy feeling of the Baileys and the eggnog. Like, so it's something that I'm going to be trying to figure out in the coming years. But, you know, it's one of those things.
I definitely will say, like, I can remember when I was a kid, like, my dad and like, my uncles would come over, like, my mom's brothers, and, like, they drink a lot on Christmas Eve. It was beer, you know? So it was like, there was oftentimes an association of like, okay, my Uncle Larry's going to be here till like 3 a.m, getting drunk with my dad, and I'll just, you know, watch Christmas Story until I like pass out, basically.
I mean, there's a real differentiation between types of drunk. You know what I mean? Even like there's mean drunks, there's people who fall asleep, there's happy drunks, there's people who make a mess and just, you know what I mean, cause problem. Like, if you're just, you know, a funny drunk and maybe a little bit more loose, and it's fine. But if you're sloppy, like you need help getting down the stairs, that's where you're having a problem when you have kids. Like, that's not something I want to do in front of my kids.
For sure. I will say, I feel like Louisiana is the place that has both the most reckless drunks and the most responsible drunks all in the same state for whatever reason.
What would cause that, though? Is it, you know what I mean? Like, is there something in the water? Like, just...
I don't know. It's like beer drinking culture, I think. That's my guess, you know, because, like, this isn't necessarily specific to Louisiana, but, like, a lot of people like to drink, you know, cheap beer here, you know, Budweiser or whatever, and they like to drink lots of it. So, like, I think the attitude is sort of stay buzzed, maintain a buzz, as opposed to like get wasted, which is often, I mean, that's like the celebratory move, right? Is like, oh, it's Christmas, let's get wasted. Where Louisiana, generally, it's like, oh, it's Christmas, let's drink, you know, which is different, right? Drinking and getting drunk are two different things.
Yes. I am constantly being a super nerd. I have an app now where I'm monitoring my drinking intake, which measures how long it takes me to take a drink or to finish a drink, what percentage of alcohol it was and all that kind of stuff, my blood alcohol content. And I'm trying to find the sweet spot for my buzz where I know that I'm just feeling good and it's all right, but I'm not going to get like sick or become a mess or reckless enough that I would drive or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure all that kind of stuff out now. So what you're talking about where you're just trying to stay a little bit buzzed where, you're just feeling good, but you're not going too far. That's the kind of thing that I'm kind of researching at the moment. But I'm a super nerd, so let's move on. Do you prefer to wrap gifts or open gifts? This is an interesting one.
Yeah, I just have never been good at wrapping.
That's interesting.
There was a time where I was interested in wrapping, and then either my mom or my grandmother, whoever was present, was like, I'll do that.
I actually prefer wrapping. It's like a weird OCD thing, I guess is the best way to describe it, where I just enjoy figuring out, like, problem solving. How am I going to fold this over? How much do I need? Let me measure. Like, it's almost like carpentry, busting out the rulers and everything like that, trying to figure out which angle I'm going to come at it with. Like, that stuff is fun to me for some weird-ass reason where I can just focus on a very simple problem and then work it. You know what I mean? Like, so for some reason, it's very, I don't want to call it cathartic, but very soothing to me to wrap presents. And to unwrap them makes a giant mess, which gives me anxiety. So
yeah, it does.
Yeah. All right, here's a good one. Real tree or a fake tree?
I mean, I prefer a real tree because they smell amazing, first of all. Like, the whole house just fills up with that, like, I guess it's pine. I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
that scent, though.
Yeah, pine.
Fake tree's a lot easier to clean up, though. That's for sure. But no, if I had my druthers, I'd pick real.
I like the fake tree. I used to be a very big stickler for the real tree. And then I realized I didn't know why. And then I became not the dad, well, I am now, but the husband. And part of that was setting the tree up in the living room. And I realized the fake tree is a shit ton easier because it's pre-lit, right? I don't have to worry about tangled cords and all that kind of shit. And it's a one and done, which means I don't have to pay money every year for it. I get to save money, and all that kind of stuff. So it's to me, I'm a total fake guy right now. I'm sure for a couple years with kids, I will probably go back to a real tree for a little while, just so that they can have that experience. But overall, fake tree all the way. Can't not do it. Just as a lazy dad, it's just the way it's gonna be.
Yeah, in terms of maintenance, the fake tree is the way to go for sure.
But
like, it is so much less trouble.
Yeah, and also consider we have a dog, and the dog would utilize the real tree as he would a real tree outside as well, which is even more mess. So there's so many problems solved by fake trees that I can do. I can deal with my Yankee Candle pine scent over the real one.
That's the way.
This is the way. All right. TV specials, The Grinch or Charlie Brown?
Oh, Charlie Brown.
Wow. We're different again. I'm a Grinch guy.
I have to, well, if we're going on, like, tradition, because this is one where it's like, this is one where I prefer The Grinch, but as, like, an overall thing to watch. But, like, in terms of, like, aesthetically the tradition and what I want to have happen on a Christmas Eve, I'm going to watch Charlie Brown. Wow.
See, I've never actually watched Charlie Brown. I bought it. I own it. I put it on to fall asleep to, and then I do.
Yeah, it's boring. That's the thing. It's a boring cartoon.
At least you own it.
Actually, it's a boring cartoon, but the music's really amazing. Vince Guaraldi, who did a lot of the soundtrack for not only that, but a couple other Charlie Brown specials, like, just an amazing pianist. And, like, I'll just watch it just for the music, because, like, that's music that I listen to Vince Guaraldi for years while working. So anyway, I think that's, for me, like, it's very soothing And that's what I want to feel, like on a Christmas Eve, is just like kind of like sort of sleepy and soothed and just ready to like chill out for a while.
That's the thing with a lot of the Peanuts stuff. There's a lot of lulls between the dialogue where they just kind of let things sit for a moment, and it overall, like over an expanded period of time, that becomes soothing and quiet and slow paced, and you know what I mean? Like they just kind of let the silence linger for just a moment between the wah 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 and Charlie Brown. Like, you know what I mean? There's always like a pause between it, and those things add up.
It adds up. Yeah, it definitely adds up to the overall aesthetic of those shows. Because like I said, like they're not exciting on any level.
No.
Like, on any level, like the comic strip is like has more going on in terms of like things actually happening a lot of the time. But like in the cartoon, it's like you said, it's just like there's so many pans. There's like so many just like we're establishing the world in case you didn't know. Like like everybody who watches it is totally new to what Peanuts is.
All right, I got one for you, and this is I don't know how we're gonna go here. Sugar cookies or gingerbread?
Oh, sugar cookies.
Now, if you had God, it's been 2 or 3 years now, told me this question, I would say sugar cookies as well. However, I think it was 2019. It had to have been 2019 before the plague hit. We went to something called Christmas by Candlelight up in Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts, which was kind of like old school, early or late 1800s, early 1900s atmosphere, like settlers type Christmas.
Yeah.
And you go around the little village, and inside each thing or whatever, they have all different things, roasting chestnuts and where all like the song lyrics and shit come from, all that kind of stuff. They had gingerbread, and I had never had it. And this was like kind of near the beginning of my whole experimenting of, I've never eaten this, I want to try that. So I tried it, and it was fucking delicious. Bright side for me, I was like, you know what? I've had gingerbread cookies before. Like, I know what that's supposed to taste like. This doesn't taste like that at all. This is delicious. Bright side, they gave me the recipe. They were just handing it out to people like it's just an old school, like 1800s recipe. And they were like, here's how you make it. And since then, I make it around Christmas time every year now. It's sort of the last 2 or 3 years running. And it's delicious. Yeah. It's absolutely delicious.
What's the secret ingredient?
I don't remember. I haven't made it this year. I can't tell you. I want to say it's molasses.
Okay.
But you know what I mean? It's just got, I don't know how would you describe molasses as a flavor? I don't want to call it smoky, but
it's not smoke. It's kind of sweet bitter almost.
Yeah, it's got that kind of feeling to it, but it's got that dark flavor, not chocolate or, you know what I mean? Like that dark flavor is what I'm talking about. And somehow that dark flavor is very light in the gingerbread, if that makes sense. So it's that hypocrisy of this should taste heavy, but it's really light because it's bread. So it's that nice dichotomy of hypocrisy or something that's going on right there that really was like, wow, this shouldn't work, but it does. And that's why I kind of gravitated to it. Or it could have just been new, and I was like, this is new, this is awesome. So who knows? All right, preference time. Would you rather go ice skating or go sledding?
I've done neither, so...
Oh my goodness, really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm from Louisiana, so there's
that's
snow
fair.
and ice. Snow and ice don't happen. It's never been part of the tradition. If I had to pick the one that I was more interested in doing, it would be sledding.
Sledding is more fun from personal experience. The threat of danger. You got to avoid trash cans and cars that are parked and all that kind of stuff. Sledding is the daredevil's activity. Pajamas or a sweater? I don't know how I feel about this question.
Pajamas.
I'm a pajama guy too. Sweaters, like the one that I'm wearing now, I'm wearing like this Santa thing, are too clingy to me. I don't like
I
tight.
don't like. I'm not a sweater person.
I like loose fitting clothes. I'm not
yeah.
All right, ham or turkey? That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good one, actually. That is the question. God, it really depends on how I feel. I'm gonna say turkey though.
All right, I'm gonna go with you on that one. Even though it's a double up from Thanksgiving, I like turkey. I prefer the turkey.
I love turkey, but I used to. I don't know. Every time I eat ham now, I'm just like, yeah, this is actually like one of the best things I've ever eaten. It's so totally not good for me, but it's so delicious.
I don't know. A lot of the ham that I've had is dry, so even when the turkey's dry, a good amount of gravy or pepper can kind of fix that. Whereas with honey or with like a honey baked ham or whatever, if it's dried out, you're kind of done. Like you know what I mean? There's no saving it.
Sure.
So that's why I kind of gravitate towards the turkey. Is no matter what, you can make it good. Plus, I love my open-faced turkey sandwiches. All right, here's a good one: white lights or colored lights, multicolored lights.
I prefer multicolored.
I'm the same way. You know what? Going back to when you said about how I feel at the moment about like the angel or the star, I think that kind of the same thing here, because I can go white lights if I'm feeling classy, like I need some Kenny G Christmas music playing. You know what I mean? Like the white lights fit that atmosphere and that mood. But most of the time, I'm Jingle Bell Rock. Put on the multicolor lights. That's the kind of mood that I'm in when I think of Christmas.
That's the thing. That's the thing too, is like the multicolored lights just add a certain extra atmosphere when you turn the lights off, and it's just like, it's just a good feeling. I don't know how else to put it.
No,
but I could go either way. That's the thing, is Christmas lights in general. I could go either way, because there are so many people who like. I remember so many, like in my 20s, I remember so many like roommates' bedrooms and whatever, where it was like their main source of light was like Christmas lights. They just hung up and would just leave them there, throughout the year, regardless of the holiday. That was just like their lighting situation.
That's fair. Poinsettia or garland?
I don't even.
So poinsettia.
I don't even know.
Poinsettia is the red flowers, and garland is garland.
Garland.
I think I'm more of a garland guy too. The poinsettias, like, I don't know, they're good at my grandma's house, but outside of that, that doesn't do much for me.
Like by garland, you mean like a wreath, like a circular thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
A wreath, or a garland. Garland is more like a string, but of the same type of. I don't want to call it material, but same kind of greenery.
I got you.
Chestnuts, or I gotta make something up because this is stupid. This changed.
Fuck chestnuts.
It said chestnuts or the nativity, and I'm like, well, how do you compare those two? I don't know why those two are in the same this or that.
What?
It says chestnuts or the nativity.
I mean, out of those two, I'll pick the nativity. The nativity is more fun to play with.
It's more on brand. It's the reason for the season. That doesn't make any sense to me as to why that's. Wow, that's so weird. Okay, now we're getting really weird. Okay, no, wait, here's a good one. Snow globes or ornaments? And I know which one you're going to pick for this.
Do you really?
I do. It's going to be ornaments.
I was going to say snow globes.
No shit. After last year, you were talking about you used to make ornaments.
I know. They're fun to make, but then when you put them up on the tree, I'm not really going to look at them anymore. Like snow globe, I'm going to like pick up, shake it around.
Isn't that so odd? You're right. You're absolutely right. I look at an ornament and then I put it on a tree.
Yeah.
And then I don't look at it anymore after that until I take it down.
Because after that point, like the tree is now like a gestalt thing. It's like it's the whole thing together. It's no longer just all the individual ornaments, which is fine. But I mean, it's when you have the tree up for the whole month almost for most people, like you get used to it, and you're kind of like, oh well, the Christmas tree's there.
It's
you
just
know?
a new lamp.
Yeah.
Pretty
But
much.
like the snow globe, like, you know, you notice it after a bit. And you're like, oh wait, there's a snow globe. I'm gonna play with that for a little bit. Like it's a toy almost.
That's fair. I think I would go with ornaments.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. And because it seems like we're getting through this pretty quick, we still have another 20 minutes to fill. I'm going to go into what I was going to talk about before, which was an idea that spurred in when I was re-listening to last year's Christmas episode when you were talking about making your own ornaments.
Yeah.
I think I might... The way this idea came to me was I'm forever gestating and coming up with the idea for a Christmas movie in my brain. But I thought about the idea of somebody who destroys 99% of all of their ornaments, right? The day after Christmas. And they only are allowed to keep one. And then the idea is throughout the year, when they have big moments in their life, I don't know what that moment may be. Maybe they graduate from school. Maybe they get a new job. Maybe they have a kid. Maybe they adopt a puppy. Maybe they go to a certain place on vacation. Maybe they discover they can drink alcohol. Could be a billion different things. Maybe they saw a movie that really resonated with them, whatever. Every time there's a big moment, they buy or create an ornament to represent that moment for them. And then at the end of the year, when Christmas comes, they hang up all the ornaments to celebrate their year. And then the day after, they have to get rid of like 99% of them. So they can keep like 2 of them now. Does that make sense? And then every year you kind of build your ornaments and you build a new collection until when you finally die, you have like a collection of ornaments that like represent your life. That would be kind of cool. And then like somebody, you know, you pass them down to a kid or something like that. Like, you know, this was your father's ornament from 1964 when he was discharged from the army. And I don't know, whatever, you know, whatever. But you kind of tell a story through that. And I thought, man, that would be a cool thing to pass down. And then, you know, the kid, you can tell the kid like, oh yeah, there were so many more, but he destroyed them. So then the kid can be like, oh, so we can destroy some of these. And they won't have to feel bad about it. Like, it's like, oh, this is the one that I remember. This one makes me think of my dad. Do you know what I mean? And then I can just destroy the rest and build my own tree or whatever. But this will always be the one that makes me remember my dad out of the whole collection of things that you left behind. And I felt like that would be a fun way to create like a new tradition.
Yeah,
and
it is.
I see that. And that's the thing that I always wanted to do is I want to make new traditions for my family. And we're talking about traditions in this particular thing. So as artists, you don't ever want to retread things that are already done. You know what I mean? Like you want to make things that are unique to you and your family or whatever like that. So like I was talking about my tradition with my little sister. We watched the movie The Santa Claus with Tim Allen and the Jim Carrey Grinch movie every year on Christmas Eve. Now my little sister instituted a rule. We are not allowed to watch them outside of Christmas Eve. So me, the guy who watches movies a jillion times, is like dying to watch it. But the general rule of thumb is that you can watch it for the first half of the year. But when you get to that halfway to Christmas point and like it's like late June, I think, that's the cutoff. You can't watch the Santa Claus after that point at all. So, like, that's a cool rule that I really kind of like and I respect and follow is like, oh, we can't watch it. And I like that because as somebody who indulges them, that whatever mood they're in to watch something, that's really kind of freeing to me. It's like, oh, that's a rule. I can't break that. Nope. So the idea of the ornaments was another thing that I had. Last year I talked about the Christmas village that's set up behind me where I kind of tried to buy ornament or village pieces that relate to my wife and I's relationship, and I try and get little figurines so I can tell the story of how we came to be and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm trying to find traditions to create from, you know, stemming from classical traditions. Like, so for example, I'm not the first person to make a Christmas village, but I might be the first person to tell a story through it. I'm not the first person to create an ornament. but to have that system of breaking down and making a choice and destroying things to build something, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's creative and new. So I'm curious, you know, as I break away from the this or that thing, is there anything that you want to do or that you already do that's like a created tradition in your life?
Oh, I mean, in general, I try and make it a tradition to watch only my favorite shitty movies on the holidays. So
Like shitty Christmas movies or just shitty in general?
see, I had this conversation with Joker actually earlier this week because Joker was talking about him and Aaron's like traditions for Christmas, and they like to watch crappy like Christmas movies for Christmas. And I was like, oh, you know, I should, you know, I need some suggestions because right now I generally am just like I'll just watch like my go-tos, you
Jingle
know, like
all the way.
well, like all my go-tos in terms of just bad movies. So like Plan 9 from Outer Space or Troll 2 or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, you know, and he said exactly what you said, which is Jingle All the Way. And he was like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, you know, I need to watch that again because I feel like that movie, like, it's not a great movie, but it's got something going on with it where it's like, it's extremely entertaining, and then I also kind of feel shitty about Christmas when it's done because it's just like it's a very satirical film, you know?
Yeah.
So like I might make a point of watching it this Christmas.
I just watched it last night. That's the only reason why it was in my brain. But yeah, no, that's a decent enough tradition to just watch terrible movies. Like I have one terrible movie that I always do watch, which is an ABC Family. Before it became Freeform, it was called ABC Family. Do you remember that channel?
Yes.
And there was a made-for-TV movie called Christmas Every Day. And it was basically Groundhog Day, but Christmas. And this kid makes a wish. He has a shitty Christmas. And he makes this wish. His little sister forces him to. And then he has a Christmas. And then it repeats itself until he can get it. It literally follows beat for beat Groundhog Day. But here's the worst part about it, though. It's soap opera. It's less than soap opera level acting, directing, writing, etc. Quality, and it's terrible. And the only way I could find it was bootleg on YouTube because a couple of years after they had made it, they remade it with higher production values. So now it looks more like a Hallmark movie channel, and it's like a woman who, you know, wishes it's not Christmas anymore and then stuck in it every day till she finds her true love or some shit like that. But yeah, I watch that shitty Christmas movie every year just because of the nostalgia factor. I guess it's that comfort, right? Isn't that what the tradition really comes from? Is like, I don't need to enjoy this. That's what makes me enjoy it.
I definitely will say, like, if it's like me and my sister and like a parent, we will watch Christmas Story.
Oh,
like no matter what.
That's not a bad movie, though.
No, it isn't a bad movie. I'm just saying in terms of movies that we watch.
Oh, okay.
Because I can't think of any bad Christmas movies where I'm just like I said, Jingle All the Way is probably the one. I'm gonna have to check out that movie you just talked about.
I can send you a link. It's horrible. It really is. We could do a whole episode talking about that movie. In fact, I think next year we should just do that. I will send you the link next year, and you can watch it, and then we'll do like a drunk podcast talking about how bad it is, which is ripping off a friend of mine's podcast, but whatever.
I have a friend who has an interesting tradition where him and his brother would go see a movie in the movie theater, whatever was out at the time.
Okay.
On Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Like that morning they would go see it. Which I was like, I didn't even know they did that. But apparently they do. But that was like always their tradition, and I always thought that was kind of interesting because it was like, I guess, a way to get out of the house or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's fair. Side note, a completely off Christmas topic. Did you go see Spider-Man?
I haven't.
Rainwater.
I know. I hear everybody talking about it. It's like, I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. I've managed to miss all the spoilers for that too. Just like
shocking. Did you happen to see what I have planned for New Year's Eve?
Are you talking about? You're not talking about for our Midnight at the Spaghetti Factory episode, are you?
No, that's
Wait, are you
that's
talking about like you're making the thing on YouTube?
haunted home theater.
I
I'm doing
did. I missed this. I don't know how I missed this.
I only just put up the video this afternoon on Instagram.
Okay.
We're doing haunted home theater. We're watching Scream 1 and 2.
Nice.
So getting ready for the new one to come out. So I don't know if you've ended up watching them or not. I'm guessing no. Just
No,
because
this will be the perfect opportunity to do it, though.
I know you're constantly working. But this is a good time. New Year's Eve, you don't got anything to do.
I know.
You just want to crack a few open and drink them and watch a good horror movie. That's what we're doing. Boy,
Awesome.
the Baileys is kicking in. All right. All right, here's a good one. Santa or the Grinch? I guess we're just talking characters now. We're not talking overall stories.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I used to really be into Santa when I was a kid, and now I'm kind of more feeling the Grinch as I'm older.
I'm a Santa guy through and through. I like Jim Carrey's version of the Grinch.
Yeah.
Even though it got trashed when it came out, I loved it, and it's infinitely quotable now. And I feel like the audience for that has
movie
grown
got
into.
trashed when it came out?
Yeah, big time.
Really? I remember that being a big movie.
It
at
was.
least in musicals.
I remember it was a big movie when it was coming out, but I just remember everybody trashing it when it came out. But I think people were talking about it was, the way adaptations always go, where people are like, oh, it was too much like Dr. Seuss's book. And then there were other people that were like, oh, it's not enough like Dr. Seuss's book. And like everybody could find a problem somehow. And it was like, you can't make anyone happy. But I feel like it's become a cult movie. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like
it has.
Our generation has really been like, no, go away. We like this. And it's kind of been saved because Jim Carrey did a great job. I mean, it's Jim Carrey. He's always doing a great job. But, yeah, I don't know how we got it.
Yeah, that one's on my sister's go-to Christmas list, so I know she'll watch it at some point this year.
Now, I'm a Santa guy, though, and I prefer, over all the other Santa Clauses that have been on film, I guess that's how we're kind of talking about it right now. There's only been a handful of Grinches, and Jim Carrey was the only live-action one. But Santa Claus-wise, Tim Allen is my Santa Claus.
For sure. Yeah, I watched the shit out of that movie.
Like, a lot of people shit on him now because he's very openly conservative, and I don't really factor that into his performances. Like, I can separate the art from the artist, as we've talked about in the past. The fact that he is a grumpy, sarcastic Santa Claus is like the perfect antonym to what Santa Claus is supposed to be, and for some reason it's so enjoyable to me. And that's why I am a Santa Claus guy through and through, especially with the E. Speaking of which, let's see if this one, reindeer or elves?
Yeah, I think reindeer.
Really?
That's a hard one because, like, I like them both for different reasons, and a lot of it has to do with, like, drug culture. Both show up in drug culture in weird ways. So,
how do reindeer show up in drug culture?
I've talked with you a little bit about this, but so like
you have my undivided attention right now.
Okay, like there's the red-capped mushroom with the white dots that gets oftentimes symbolized as like
toad,
as toad, or as just like the kind of like drug mushroom kind of a symbol.
Okay,
it's not really, but I mean,
is that an actual mushroom in real life?
Yeah.
No shit.
It's called the Amanita muscaria, and it was allegedly used by shamans like in Eastern Europe.
Wow.
So like there was, because a lot of people I've never, but a lot of people apparently have tried to do Amanita muscaria to trip, and they don't have good experiences, or nothing happens, or they just get sick.
Really?
And the story is, I don't know if this is true, but the story is what shamans would do is they would drink the piss of the reindeer that ate the mushrooms, and they would trip off the piss. So there is speculation
That they
that
use
this
the
is
reindeers as filters?
yeah, like this is speculation of where like the flying reindeer idea came from, because like
Huh.
shamans would like drink the piss and then they would trip balls and probably see reindeer fly, but they weren't really flying.
That's insane. I don't know what it was. Maybe I read that a couple of days ago because I was reading about the origin of where reindeers, like, quote unquote, learn to fly. But I don't remember what I read about it. That's interesting. Wow, I never would have put that together.
And that's just like one of those things also that's like, I mean, this is like message board type,
Sure.
lore. So like take it with a grain of salt. With elves are another really commonly cited thing
Yeah.
for a lot of people on different drug trips. So like it's pretty I would say that it would be easy to postulate that our whole mythology of elves comes from people having done drugs and seen like these weird, whatever, either from the periphery or like they like encountered them in a drug trip, basically.
Wow.
So I don't know how that elves in particular. I'm not really sure how they like got into Christmas lore, but both elves and reindeer, have drug culture ties, and apparently they just kind of snuck in over time.
Crazy. The amount of
I'm
things.
assuming. One last thing I'll
Sure.
say is that I'm assuming it has to do with the pagan roots of Christmas or of Yule,
Okay.
because a lot of Druidic traditions involve drug usage, and there were a lot of ritual ceremonies that required the use of drugs in order to have these religious type experiences. And so, not knowing enough about the pagan history that gets tied into Christmas, I'm gonna make an assumption that that's kind of where they slowly got pulled into the lore, basically.
Huh. Isn't it crazy how religion and drugs, like a straight edge religion and drugs, have come together to create a lovable children's character? Like the avenue of those two things coming together is just it's mind-boggling. All right, here's one. Christmas cake or Christmas pudding?
Huh. I've had neither of those.
Really?
For
I mean, I haven't had Christmas cake. I've had cake at Christmas, but
yeah, I mean, I've had a couple of times where it was like that log thing that has like the creamy inside.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Let's call that the Christmas cake because it might as well be.
I've had that a couple of times, so I'll go with that.
Okay. I'm going to go with the pudding. Only because I don't know what a Christmas pudding is, but my mother makes amazing banana pudding for most get-together gatherings.
Yeah.
That I could eat the entire bowl that she brings, no problem. So I'm gonna jump onto that.
My Christmas traditions have either involved pie or cookies.
Okay, chocolate pie
Literally
is a big one at my house.
Yeah, like literally anything but cake or pudding.
That's fair. All right, Mariah Carey or Kenny G?
Mariah Carey.
Over the Ken? Wow.
I had a 5th grade teacher. My teacher in 5th grade, like, for Christmas, she blasted Kenny G for the whole month, and I could not. I was done. I was just like, I never want to do this.
But Mariah Carey's only got that one song that everybody knows, and they play that shit on loop at the supermarket. Like, I would rather listen to 12 different Kenny G songs on loop than one Mariah Carey song.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, it has to just be the Christmas songs, you're saying.
That's fair. Ba, 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 ba. A lot of these we already did. I'm looking through a list right now. Oh, this is an interesting one. Only because we were talking about this earlier, but I'm curious to know your preference. See all of the family or a quiet Christmas alone?
I would prefer to see all the family.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I say this as a new father. A quiet Christmas alone is kind of appealing to me. The idea of like being at like a cabin in the woods in the snow and all that kind of stuff with a fireplace sounds lonely. And I'm going to even take alcohol out of the situation and just be like, if it was just me and my recliner and a nice blanket, just chilling by a fireplace watching, movies or whatever's on TV at the time or whatever, that's nice to me. The idea of not having to worry about taking care of someone else or, having to be the one who carries the gifts from the car to the house and not waking anybody or, you know what I mean? Like that reprieve of all of the duties that come along with Christmas as an adult, that's kind of appealing to me. I don't get me wrong. I love being around my family and stuff like that, but at some point I got to go home. And usually when I go home, I leave the wife and kid upstairs and come down to my man cave. And, I'm just talking about like day to day. So yeah. I don't know. I feel like maybe at Christmas time, it might I might reconsider on the day if I got what I wanted. But, it's one of those things that looks good on paper, as they say.
No, I've done Christmas alone. It wasn't that fun for me. I don't know.
Okay.
I just wanted to watch bad movies or get high or something. It wasn't that fun.
That's fair. All right, here's a very good one, and this is one we'll end on, especially because it's kind of artistic if you think about it. A do-it-yourself gift or a store-bought gift? What would you rather have, like to receive?
At this point, a do-it-yourself gift. Lately I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I just don't even want gifts. Don't even bother with that. Like, I'm here to hang out with everybody and eat. Feels like too much pressure to receive gifts nowadays, where it's just like, what am I supposed to do with this or whatever, Like, especially if it's as I've gotten older, it's harder for people to find gifts for me because it's like everything that I want or need is like some expensive electronic or it's clothes. And clothes, it's like you have to try it on yourself,
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
I will say I do like getting socks now for Christmas.
And listen,
best time to get socks.
I got into a fight with someone the other day about that. I think socks are the best clothes gift that anyone can get. Boy, girl, old, young, doesn't matter. Socks are the way to go.
Especially if they're like silly socks or something like that.
I'm not big on silly socks. You know what it is? My grandmother has made it a habit every year of being the person who gets me the socks. And she gets me I don't want to call them knit, but they're like wool, like thick thermal socks, like winter socks. That's the good shit that I can walk around in the house in. You know what I mean? Because the floor's cold and this and that. But they're insulated and they're thick enough that they're kind of like makeshift shoes where I could run the dog out if he had to pee on the sidewalk and I wouldn't have to worry about stepping on a rock. But they're comfy enough, and socks are my way to go. The only problem is I have a shit ton of socks now, and I have to get into the habit where I need to finally part with some of them. But I have favorite socks where I'm like, no, I really like this pair. It doesn't matter how worn in they are. Like they've got holes in the bottom. I'm like, no, but they really do fit well, and I can wear them in the summer sometimes. And
maybe you have to rotate out socks to use as Christmas ornaments.
That might not be a bad idea. Although the dog would have a field day with that. All right. This has been rather fun, but we've come to the end of our hour. I just want to wish everyone who's listening a Merry Christmas, or if you don't celebrate, just a happy December 25th. If you celebrate another holiday, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, happy whatever. or just Happy New Year, which brings me into our closing point. Next year's is it going to be next year's? Wait a minute. When is it actually going to drop? I'm looking at the calendar. Oh, we do it on the 26th. It will drop on the 29th. It will still be this year. Never mind. Next episode is going to be a doozy because for the New Year's episode, Rainwater and I are going to basically do a time capsule podcast where we're going to make predictions. We are going to go down. I'm going to come up with a list, and I'll send it to you this week, Rainwater, of general topics to ponder over before we record. And then next week, we're going to discuss what we think is going to happen within the next calendar year under those topics. For example, we'll talk about Dogecoin. We'll talk about the pandemic. We'll talk about movies. We will talk about whatever, like a bunch of different random topics. And we are going to try and do the art of prediction, because if there's one thing that I know for sure, it's that artists have a sixth sense of observation where we understand the human psyche probably better than a fucking psychologist most of the time. Maybe not from an intellectual standpoint, but from emotional standpoints, I think we're way more in tune with how people will act, react, etc.
Oh yeah.
Than anyone else. So I'm going to be kind of basing my predictions off of that. Rainwater, you're free to do however you would like to do.
Yeah.
And then the next year, we're going to come back to it, and we're going to see how we did. And I'm very intrigued to see if our artist sense is able to get anything right. I think we'll get one or two things right on the nose to the point where it'll freak people out. Because I don't know about you, have you ever seen that episode of Community where Abed is able to accurately predict what everybody does and what happens to them and all this kind of crazy stuff?
Yeah.
I feel like that has happened to me quite a bit in my life, where I've been able to lay out a course of action that is going to happen, and then people watch it happen and they're in shock that I was able to call it. You know what I mean? Like, and I frequently tell them it's not that hard. As a writer, my job is to understand a character's motivation. So once I get to know a person, yes, they are more complex than a character, but a lot of times motivations are not easily hidden. People are not very good. They're not Frank Underwood. They're not like all these characters you see on TV. They are very on the surface about what it is that they want. And if you understand that, you can put yourself in those shoes, which is why a lot of artists are more empathetic than other people, is because they can understand where a villain is coming from, where someone, an outcast or something is coming from, because we can kind of put ourselves in someone else's shoes and see through their eyes. So I'm curious to see if we can use that power on real life, general topics, and if we can hit the dart in the bullseye on anything. So next week will be a very fun episode to hear how me and Rainwater are going to postulate the next year's events.
I'm looking forward to it. And happy holidays, everybody. We will see y'all again soon.
It's still this year. We'll see you this year. That's not the sign off that most people try to use as a bad joke. It's usually see you next year, but we will see you this year. We'll see you next week. All right, everybody. Happy holidays. Take it easy. Peace. Ho, ho, ho.